Restoring Abrahamic Faith, 4th Revised Edition. Preface. This little book was first published in 1991 as a 48-page stapled pamphlet. I made it available to a few hundred friends and interested readers as part of Genesis 2000, the publishing enterprise I had formed in 1987. It was subsequently expanded into a spiral-bound book in 1993, and a few thousand copies were printed and distributed. In 2008, it appeared in its third incarnation as a professionally printed paperback book, now out of print. This fourth edition is revised and expanded with much new material. I began thinking seriously about the contents of this book back in the late 1960s. I had graduated from college with majors in Greek and biblical studies, fired by a passion for discovering the historical Jesus. It was that quest that led me to the insights and concepts represented herein. The more I learned about Jesus, the more I realized how vital it was to see him as a Jew of his time, who put his faith in the God of Abraham, who upheld the Torah and the Hebrew prophets, and who lived and died for his ancestral Hebrew faith. I was raised in an evangelical Christian family, and I had grown up with a strong emphasis on the New Testament. The Old Testament, as we referred to it in our church circles, was looked on as mere background to the superseding revelation brought by Jesus and the Apostle Paul. It was even common to speak of the Old Law as done away. I had never taken the Jewishness of Jesus seriously, at least not in terms of its implications. And I assume, since Paul was such a dominant influence in the evangelical Christian tradition, that whatever he presented as his gospel message was identical to that of Jesus. That was then and this is now. I ended up making an academic career out of my passion for the study of ancient Judaism and early Christianity, or perhaps I should say, as Paula Fredrickson puts it so well, that brief period when Christians were Jews. I presented the results of my 40 years of academic work on the historical Jesus based on textual research and archaeology in a triad of books published by Simon & Schuster, The Jesus Dynasty, 2006, The Jesus Discovery, 2012, and Paul and Jesus. More recently, I completed a fourth book, The Lost Mary, forthcoming Knopf, 2025, seeking to interpret the Jesus movement through the turbulent life and times of Jesus' mother. I have now just begun work on a fifth book in this series, Jesus Betrayed, How the Church Rejected the Message of its Founder. This book, Restoring Abrahamic Faith, moves out of those academic parameters and is much more of a personal, non-specialist exposition of what I call Hebraic faith. I am enamored with the Hebrew Bible, Torah, prophets, and writings, those texts generally considered as sacred scripture in the period we refer to as late Second Temple Judaism. To put it in Christian terms, my focus is on the Bible of Jesus and that of his earliest followers. The Hebrew Bible is a vast collection of texts spanning centuries and composed by dozens of writers and editors, but it nonetheless reflects at its core an emerging vision of the great Creator God, of human potential and purpose, and the unrealized hope of God's will done on earth as in heaven. That vision is one that beckons us across the ages and seems increasingly relevant in our troubled new millennium. I hope my readers will find this book both informative and inspirational.